I want to introduce you to something called the ACT matrix, which is such a sci-fi name for a simple grid. And this is a model that I first encountered when I was working in an NICU. And we used it in groups. It comes from acceptance commitment therapy, and we used it in groups for families who were getting ready to go home with their babies. And they were often consumed, reasonably, with stress and worry. And doing this work, it changed my life because I could see how almost in real time, a person's conception of their situation could be transformed. And even, we weren't getting rid of the pain, we weren't getting rid of what was difficult, but we were helping people figure out how to hold it and keep moving forward. I saw how powerful and transformative it could be to engage in this loving and kind process of getting to know yourself. So I want to take a few minutes to walk you through this model. I find it really useful sometimes for individual decision-making or sometimes bigger picture thinking. And this model informed many of the chapters of something to hold on to. So please think of it as special bonus content only for you. So when we use the matrix, we start in that bottom corner, number 1. And this is where we start digging through that trunk, looking for what is really important to us. So this is where values show up. If we value kindness or reliability, trustworthiness, that's where we would write that down. This is where our people show up, the people we love, our friends, our family, our pets. This is where we might talk about hobbies. And if we're very lucky, this is maybe where we might put something down about work. Now, some people put goals in here, and I don't necessarily push back against that, but I always want to know more. So if somebody writes money, I would like to know, oh, so what does money do for you? Does it give you freedom? They might say, well, I grew up without it, and it's a lot nicer having it. It gives me stability. So we might write down stability as the value that they're actually interested in. And the reason we invest time in this piece, in understanding what our values are and who and what matters most to us, is that this serves as our compass when we get lost, right? When a big storm comes up and we can't find our way, once we know what matters to us, we can't get truly lost anymore. We'll always be able to find our way back. So this second phase over here on the left, the away moves, what painful thoughts, feelings, sensations might get in the way of moving forward. This is where we start digging into our pain. What does it feel like to be you in a moment when you're not connected with your biggest values, your deepest values? If security is really important to you, what does it feel like to be you in an insecure moment? If you have children who really matter to you and they're having a hard time, what is your internal experience in that moment? What's your self-talk? What does it remind you of? If you love your work, what is it like to be you after a really bad day? As human beings, often what we want to do is get rid of whatever shows up here. We don't want to be sad or mad or anxious. And then I don't even want to say the bad news, but maybe the true news is we can't do that. The truth is that the things we do to get rid of our pain often add to our pain. So the job of this section is for us to just name and know what is going on for us inside. We don't have to fix everything or anything. We can't avoid it. We're just noticing. So now we rise above the line, right? Which means that everything below the line, this is private to you. If you don't tell me, I don't know what's important to you. And isn't it wonderful that we are designed so that nobody knows what we're thinking unless we tell them? I'm very grateful. I think that's very wise. So in the matrix model and generally in acceptance commitment therapy, this is where we really want to slow down and pay attention to the relationship between our internal experience and how it shows up in what we do without judgment. If I'm feeling insecure, what do I want to do about it? What am I called to do about it? How am I going to tend to that? What if I'm sad or lonely or worried about my job? Can I look at this without judgment?
I wanted to talk a little bit about the air mattress. I think that'll resonate for a lot of people here tonight of, all the things that are calling on our energy and how much air is in our air mattress. And you talk about elephants dancing on our air mattresses. And again, if you could just walk us through that.
Well, I like this image because it helps us sort of think about, inflow and outflow, and it sort of aligns with what I was saying before, that so often we judge ourselves for not being, not having capacity or not being able to do everything. And we're not taking any time to look at all that we're actually doing, right? So that And that's why I think of an air mattress. When it's nice and full of air, it's really comfortable, it's nice and bouncy, but it springs a leak, it starts losing air, right? And it's not the air mattress's fault, right? It's just that there's not enough air. So if you're noticing that, oh, there's so much to do and I always feel overwhelmed, maybe think of yourself like, what do I need to get some more air in my system? Do I need a bit of time? Breathing practices, honestly, that's pretty literal, but they do work. Or is it the question that there's too many things on this air mattress? Are there, armies of elephants dancing? Look, it's going to be hard to keep that inflated. So we want to look at the balance of inflow. What are the activities? What are the things that we are doing that are bringing something to us versus outflow? What are the things that we do, even things that we love, but that are demanding resources from us? And we want to try and keep those in balance.
I'm so interested about that thing too of, how something that if your air mattress was really full, maybe would be an annoyance. If your air mattress is really deflated, is kind of apocalyptic, or you snap, or I'm just so curious about how that impacts, our interaction with the daily world.
Oh yeah. Well, I think that's when we're kind of underinflated, right? When we just lose capacity. And this is where we were chatting earlier about a good friend of yours who I've met, Don Eckler, wonderful meditation teacher. And his big thing, he does these beautiful calligraphies and they all say, no big deal, right? And it's a really useful thing to remember, even in those underinflated moments, that this thing that feels so painful and so difficult right now, probably it's no big deal. Mm-hmm. It's not always easy to get there, but I just like having that in my back pocket to pull out when I find myself getting really worried about something that's like, this is not a problem. Yeah. But it is a sign. If I notice that again, if you can be compassionately curious about what it is that you're thinking and feeling, you can notice, wow, I'm getting really worried about stuff that I know intellectually is not important. That's probably a sign that my air mattress needs some air.
The first title for this book was Hold It Lightly. And in the chapter, Imagine a Baseball, you kind of described this a little. I'm wondering if you can elaborate on that.
I love that expression, hold it lightly. And I think about it like 100 times a day, when I'm assigning meaning to something, or I'm wondering about what somebody else meant by something, and I'm just like, I can just hold that lightly. I don't need to grab onto it and to make it be important. I can just be curious about it. In the chapter about the baseball, the baseball is something that when I do couples therapy, I often talk about this with people where that when you're having a conversation, especially with somebody you really care about, we can get, because we care about them so much, we move quickly into this very fast-paced, very everything sort of layered with, layers and layers and layers of meaning, and it might not serve the conversation, right? We want to try and keep it light. And with the baseball, I often think about it. If I want to have a conversation with you, probably the best thing I can do is kind of let you know that I want to have this conversation, just like if I'm going to play catch, prepare you for it, hey, this is the thing I'd like to do, and maybe toss it gently to you. What often happens with couples is that it's like, light it on fire, throw it at your head. That's not going to work, right? So even when this is what I mean, workability, it's very human, but guess what? Your partner's going to have a hard time catching the flaming baseball. So make it light. Make it light so that they can catch it. Because if they don't catch it, then you can't get anywhere. You can't play catch.
I also love in that chapter where you describe you have a choice of what to do with the baseball that's around you. You can hold on to it. You can throw it back. You can put it down. Like there's a million, the demand isn't that you have to throw it back.
Yeah, I love that idea that we can choose. People can bring us all kinds of things, and we don't have to scoop them up and do anything with it. We can take our time. I think sometimes, I don't think this made it into the book, but I like the idea of somebody going to an antique store and putting all their stuff on maybe it did make it in. 54, I don't remember things. But, these are all the treasures, but I'm the person who's buying things for the store. I get to take time and look and see, is this something I want or not? I don't have to take it.